introduce Richard Lawson. I hadn't met Richard Lawson until we had a chat a couple of weeks ago on the phone, but if you have a little look at his website and also his LinkedIn profile, you'll know that he's the master of search engine optimization, online marketing and online selling, so he tells me, and he has a very good CV that goes along with that, so I'll hand you straight over to Richard.
Thanks very much.
You'll really enjoy this.
Hi. Thanks. So yeah, Karen contacted me a couple of weeks ago and gave me a brief on the phone, which was to come and do a talk to try and put some real world sense into the courses that you've been doing. So I had a look at your course brochure that's online, and I found the Plan E-Marketing Communications section, whatever the code is. So Google, Facebook, Twitter and blogging, and I'm hoping that you've all done quite a lot on your courses regarding that. Learning about digital media channels, what they can do for your business, how to maximise their effectiveness and where they fit in any e-marketing campaign. So that's quite a broad spectrum of things to try and cover in an hour and a half, which is what I believe I've got. So what I've decided to do is to give an overview of common online marketing methods. I'll try and race through the dry stuff so I can give you some good examples, and hopefully it'll be much like a woman's miniskirt, short enough to keep you interested and long enough to cover the essentials. So as I said, about an hour, hour and a half, and here we go. What I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about branding design, because I hate it, technical jargon. I'm not going to talk about Twitter because I understand that some of you are thinking of starting your own businesses, and I wouldn't recommend you start with Twitter. I think there's more important things. And for the same reason, I'm not going to talk about blogging either. Google Plus is going to be massive. It's been out for businesses for about 3 months, but I'm still working out exactly how best to utilise it for business purposes. What I've done is I've created a form which you're more than welcome to fill in. You can pass it round. And if you give me your name and email address, what I'll do is I will email you an update with the presentation on it that I'm doing today and the Google Plus information as I find it over the next few weeks. Okay, so what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about why we use the web at all, identifying your audience, a little bit on research, the importance of failure, which is probably not something you see on most marketing slides, your website, very briefly. We all know what a website is and what they look like. We use them every day. We're going to talk a lot about Google and different Google properties, and I'm also going to look at Facebook. Okay, so why the web at all? There's 1 billion searches a day on Google, and the average user spends 1 minute and 29 seconds on it every single day. If we look at Facebook, there's 700 million active users, and the average user spends 20 minutes per day. There's 10 million users on Facebook in Australia. And YouTube, there's 48 hours of video added every single minute. That's 8 years of video content per day. Okay, so your audience is definitely on the web somewhere. Okay. And that's sorry, and I missed that bit off. And obviously what you've got to remember is you could be targeting people on their computers, their iPads, their phones, and obviously you need to check your audience and make sure you target the right people in the right way. So that leads me on nicely to who are you targeting? Obviously, first of all, you've got to identify who your audience is. So if I give an example, some easy examples, if you were selling anti-aging treatments or you had a skin clinic, who would your audience be? Anybody?
Women.
Women? Any particular age?
Elderly.
Sorry? Only women.
25.
You go for the young to 50.
Okay, so everyone's got some different answers, and what you probably do is set up some campaigns to target 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 45, and then work out which one gave you the best return on your investment. Gaming sites. Who would you target?
Teenagers.
Teenagers, okay. Male, female?
Yellow gold.
Either. It's predominantly male, actually.
Yeah.
What about baby clothes and toys?
Mothers.
Mothers? What about fathers?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Mostly mothers.
So pretty easy to try and identify. But if you take the baby clothes side of things, who's more likely to have a baby? A woman in her late 20s, early 30s, or a woman in her late 40s? So you can start to narrow it down even further because when you actually target a specific band of your audience. What about these ones? Home automation. Male. Okay. 40s, right, okay. Home automation is where you use things like your iPad to control your lights or your sound systems. So it's the newer so it's automating the things in your home. So it's probably going to be, you don't necessarily have to just go with male or female and their age, homeowners, people with some money, professionals, business owners, people who can afford to spend that type of money. What about a builder? Sorry? Yeah, okay, tradesmen.
Somebody who takes something from the bottom and works their way up. They're building their own careers.
Yeah, sorry, I meant a builder as in somebody who sort of builds new homes or things like that. So again, somebody with some money, but not necessarily male or female, much harder to identify the audience in the first place. And here's one for you. You see them every day. Everyone eats in them. If you're trying to target a specific audience, what about if you own a restaurant? Any ideas? It does. It depends on what type of restaurant it is. If you're looking for, it's expensive upmarket, you target people in there who've got money, professional couples, that type of thing. Otherwise, you'd maybe target families if you had kids, a kids-friendly restaurant. So it just gives you an idea that you need to think about who your audience is going to be and why do you do that? Okay. So first of all, sorry I missed this one, you identify by demographics. So age, income, working status, the area they live in. If you're a plumber in Beenley, you don't want to target people in Brisbane maybe. Relationship status. If you've got a wedding site, you don't want to target people who are recently divorced. Sounds obvious. I see it happen every day. Homeowner status, anything that segments your audience out, and you can make a statement about them. Okay, so why do you do that? So you can style your site accordingly. So you can use the right language. So you can think about their needs and wants and style your online campaigns. So you can find out where they hang out online. And I'll give some examples of this in a little while. A common mistake, and something that I get asked for all the time, is that when I say to people, what's your audience, they just say, everyone. Yeah, you can't target everybody, it's impossible on the web. You can have a website that serves everybody, but if I go to a baby site because my girlfriend's pregnant, and I look at it and it's styled for a woman, it doesn't stop me being able to read it. And it doesn't stop me being able to use the site. But the site's written for a particular type of person, and so is all of the marketing. So they try and cover too broad an audience. So what you need to do is imagine your typical client and be as specific as you can, and everything you do for that particular campaign on site should be targeted to that person. So if you're targeting a 25-year-old female, a 30-year-old male who lives in a certain area, you should write as if you're talking to that person. Okay, so some research then, some basic research. A common request from me when clients come in to see me is they come in to say, I have clients who've got existing businesses and clients who are setting up new businesses. They come in and they say to me, I want to be the top of Google. That's what they say. And my usual response is, what for? And they go, I don't know. Okay, that's honestly exactly what happens to me every single day. So it's a good idea to do a little bit of research first. So keyword research. This is what we normally take as what people type, or what this means is looking at what words people type into Google, how many of them do it. And what you can do, I'll give you the presentation with the link. There's a free tool that Google gives you that you are able to go and look at that information. If you've then got an AdWords account, you can look at a bit more. I'm going to have to come out of the presentation. Okay, so what I've done is I've logged into one of my clients' AdWords accounts, and so that I don't do any type of business right now, I'm just going to give you the example. I've typed in the phrase red shoes. Okay, you can see that my location is set to Australia, and here's the results. So what you're seeing there, can everybody see that? I'll read it out. So the first keyword that's highlighted on its own at the top, what we're looking at is the local monthly searches. And on that, Google says there's 18,100 searches on the whole of google.com.au every single month, on average, for the last 12 months. Beneath it, what they're showing you is they're showing you other words that Google thinks is associated with it that you might be interested in. Now, you might ask yourself, are there really 18,000 people typing in red shoes into Google every single month?
Probably.
Yeah? And the answer is no. Okay. So, and I've seen a lot of sort of people get very confused with this. Up on the left-hand side here, you'll see there are different match types. And there is broad, exact, and phrase. And I'm not going to get very technical at all. I'm going to click the exact button. Now, what this means is how many people have typed in red shoes, that exact word, exactly as it is, with no other words at all. And you can actually see the number drops quite significantly to 880 people a month. Okay, so that's how many people actually type that in. There's another one which is called the phrase. Again, it's a useful metric, and as it comes up, you'll see that red shoes, the phrase, what that actually means is any words before or after, as long as it contains the phrase red shoes. There's 6,600 people who typed that in. The broad match, if somebody typed in maroon heels, that would register on Google's broad match, and that's why the number is so high, 18,100. So they use synonyms, and they try and guess what they think people mean from their search intent. So whenever you do any kind of keyword research, you want to try and look at how many people type in exact and phrase keywords. I'll go back to the broad so that we don't have lists of all the same keywords. What you can do is you can order by any of the columns, and I've just ordered that by the monthly searches in the whole of google.com.au. And you can see how many searches there are for the various keywords. When you go through the list, what you've got is you've got a competition column, and that's on Google's advertising program, on their pay-per-click program, which I'll cover in a little bit more detail, in a little while. And it basically says low, medium, or high. It's fairly obvious. The number of local monthly searches we've already covered, and then it says the approximate cost per click. So that's how much it would cost if you displayed your advert on a Google property and someone clicked to come through to your site. You'll see on this particular example, it's about 50 to 70 cents a click for most of the keywords that are there. I've got some clients that pay up to $150 per click. Okay, so like compensation lawyers, things like that, accident lawyers. It's a very competitive area, and it's very expensive to advertise for. Okay, so that's how you do, or that's how you look at what keywords people are typing into Google.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can, yeah.
Probably it's on everyone's mind. If I was to put a keyword in my Google's name, and they click, so I have a whole lot of ones that would be paid per click. So say I had red shoes and I had black shoes and I had silver heels and stuff like that.
Yes, you can bid on a whole host of keywords. I'll show that on a pay-per-click section in a little while. And I will cover this stuff. I'm just trying to get through some of the drier stuff so I can give you the examples and make it make a little bit more sense. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to identify keywords that will potentially be good for your site. So what you're looking for is how many other advertisers there are, the competition levels. If there aren't any advertisers, you need to ask yourself why. And it would be a good idea to maybe check on google.com, change the location to the States and see if there's advertisers there. If there's still no advertisers, then it probably means it's not a profitable keyword, because pretty much everything is gone. It's unlikely that you're going to find a good keyword with no competition at all. You're looking for some volume, especially on the exact keyword phrase. And just beware of the different match types and make sure you understand exactly what they are. And if you go and search on Google, what's the difference between broad phrase and exact, you'll find a Google answer to it. It'll come up in Google. So then what you need to do is look at your online competition. Okay, I'm not going to do this because it will take too long to go through and do properly. But this is what you're looking for. You type in your keywords into Google and you look at what is the first 3 to 5 results. Look at their sites. What do they offer? What do they do well? What do you like about them? What don't they do well? How difficult will it be to compete with them? So you've got the pay-per-click, which we've already covered, which is the Google AdWords. Search engine optimization, ranking on Google, I will cover in a section shortly. And then what you could do is go on Facebook, type in the same keywords and do a search. And what you're looking for is business pages. And see what your competition is doing online in Facebook and how they're using social media. So what I did is I did actually do a quick example, if I can get to it, I went to, this is a place called WooRank, and it's a free service, free online service, woorank.com. You can type in any website, I say. Is it .com for? Yeah. And it will generate a report, okay, and give the site a score out of 100. And you can see on the left-hand side, they look at visitors, social monitoring, mobile, a few different SEO things, usability, security, and technology. So what I've done is I've typed in the college's web address, and they've scored 37.6 out of 100, okay? Which may not sound that good, but it's a local business website, effectively, and it's not trying to compete on a global scale. So I'll run through the sort of information that you get there. So the first thing it will tell you is how much traffic you get roughly, and it's saying not that much, really, to your website. You're the almost 10 millionth most visited website in the world. It looks at things that the search engines are now starting, or Google's starting to take into account, which is social proof and approval. So it says how many people have shared your website on social platforms, and you can see their Facebook shares, likes, comments, Twitter backlinks, LinkedIn shares, dig entries. No, it's okay. So
I think we all share a Facebook page, not the actual website.
yeah, possibly. And that's the same thing with all of these types of things that you use. You need to look at them sensibly and say, does that actually affect me? Is there a reason why that isn't there? So it's saying that you've got a Twitter account, and it's saying that it can measure 6 followers at the moment. Location in Brisbane, and it's an 8-month, 2-day-old account. It shows you how your website renders in an iPhone and an iPad, and then tells you quite categorically that your website is not optimized for mobile visitors. Okay. So then it sort of starts coming down into SEO. And the first one, and this is the basic information, and you guys can go away and have a look at this in more detail. The first thing that it's saying is, I don't know whether you're aware, but a website www. And then without the www. Is 2 different sites unless you add a piece of code into your hosting account. So Google is effectively thinking that you've got 2 different websites, both with the same content, which it doesn't like. So that's why that warning has come up. A robot's text file is to tell a search engine how to behave once it gets to your site. There's no sitemap that Google can read easily with its technology. And that's the SEO, that's the three first basic things about SEO, or search engine optimization. Then it starts looking at your pages and your content, and it looks through a number of different things, and it'll either say you have got them or you haven't got them. It then looks at your internal linking structure. Then it says, here's the keyword cloud for your site, and the word it most associates with your site is the word login. It's just interesting. Then it looks at your pages, it looks at backlinks from other sites, which is massive when it comes to search engine optimization, and it looks at a couple of other bits and pieces in terms of technology, your error pages, whether you declared the language, and some stuff that really isn't that interesting at all. But it's a very quick way to get a good overview of what you think your competition is doing and ascertain how much work they've put in. If all of those were green and they were doing really well, they're probably on top of their game, and you'd be struggling to knock them off their #1 position. That's just a very basic, statement. Okay, so that's researching your competition. You want to do a lot of research into your competition, because obviously that's going to affect how you get your business, and I can put more stuff on about that. I could do an hour and a half on research, but I want to try and cover as much as I can. Okay then, so I'm going to talk about the bit that might have intrigued you, which is the importance of failure. Okay. You can measure just about anything on the web in some way, and certainly more than traditional media platforms. You can measure the number of searches, as I've shown you. You can measure how long people stay on your site, how many impressions a pay-per-click advert gets, the number of likes on a Facebook post, page, comments, number of views of your YouTube video, how many people view your site with an iPad. Okay, so you can measure a lot of stuff. Most important is to try and identify your conversions. So if you think of a conversion in different ways, the number of people who viewed your sign-up page is 100. The number of people who viewed the thanks for signing up page is 50. You've got a sign-up ratio of 50%. That's what you convert your traffic to. Another one would be the number of people that visit your site, the amount of money you made in that period. And you can work out, if all your money comes from online, you can work out, or all of your leads come from online, or your customer inquiries come from online, and you can work out what each visitor is worth to you. So, if you make $1 of profit for each visitor to your site, you can buy advertising at 50 cents per visitor, and assuming an unlimited amount of searches, how much advertising would you buy? Billions, if you could. Yeah, as much as you can. And that's the way you need to try and get with any of your web endeavours, whatever you end up doing, or whichever properties you end up using, you need to try and find, it won't be like that, exactly like that, but what will happen is you'll find certain keywords are much more profitable. Certain ways of doing things on social media are much more profitable, and once you can identify those streams, it's worth spending a lot of time and money on them to maximise the revenue. So whatever you do, you have to find a way of measuring a conversion in some way, even if it's the number of phone calls that you receive to a particular number or something like that, because you can't do it on the web. If you do that and you're getting enough traffic, you can decide very, very quickly if something is or isn't working. If it isn't, you either need to fix it or drop it, fail quickly, and try something else. Okay? So don't spend $100 on pay-per-click, get nothing. Spend another $100 on pay-per-click, get nothing, then try it again. If it's not working, change it. And what I normally get for this is a lot of clients in the last 6 months have come to me saying, we've been advertising in the paper for the last 4 years, never had any problems, and then it dried off. So we did a couple more adverts and it still didn't work. So we did a couple more and now we're really broke. We better move online. So they've paid for advert after advert after advert in the paper, and got nothing from it. So measuring everything leads me on quite nicely to Google Analytics. Okay? Has anybody seen Google Analytics before? No? Okay. So, okay, we'll go through it. So it's free from Google. Why? Because it helps them make more money, because it means that you can do better analysis and spend more money on your pay-per-click campaigns. Okay, so they do it out of the kindness of their heart. You simply sign up for a Google account, a Gmail account, something like that. You go to google.com.au/analytics. You add your site, you add some code to your site, and you set up your conversions, and it will start tracking everything. Okay, so this is, it was, let me just see if I can get that back. It's not my laptop, by the way.
Sorry.
That dropped out.
While we wait
It's
for
all
it
right.
to come up, guys, just remember that in your template for your advertising strategies, it actually says to you, and I wrote it in there, check Google Analytics. How many of you put your hand up when Richard mentioned it? There it is.
We're too smart to do that.
Okay, so this is one of my. They're actually based in the UK. They're an online sports jobs recruitment site, and they try and cover the whole of the world, or certain sections of it. So when you log into the account, the first thing that you get is a quick overview of where your site is in the last 30 days. You'll see the date is always set to the last 30 days when you first log in the top right there. So the green tick means that it's all working properly and the code's being measured. They've had 40,628 visits in the last 30 days. People are spending 3.5 minutes on the site, and the amount of visits has gone up by 35 or just over 35% in the last 30 days compared to the previous 30 days, which means I'm doing my job right. So these are the sorts of things that you can measure, and I'm just going to quickly run through some of the I'm going to try and quickly run through some of the more important things. Yeah, it's all right. Happens to me every day. Sorry about this, everybody. Give me 2 seconds. Right, there we go. Okay, so just to bring us back, so we're inside Google Analytics. We've clicked on, you can obviously track more than one website inside Analytics under one account. So the first thing that you get is you get a quick overview where you can see the amount of visitors that you've had represented as a graph, which I'm sure you can all see, even the guys and girls at the back. It tells you how many visits you've had, the number of page views. It shows you a quick pie chart of the traffic sources. And what you can then do on the left-hand side is you can go into a lot more detail. So you can look at your visitors. You can look at exactly how many unique visitors came to the site rather than returning visitors. You can look at whereabouts they were in the world. You can look at whether or not they used mobile phones, iPads, that type of thing. You can look at a lot of information, which operating system they used. You can look at the traffic sources. And you can go into all of these. You can go into, for example, search engines, and you can then go in and see all the search engines. And if you look at that, you'll see that Google gave 11,000 visits, and Bing was the next closest one at 361 visitors. So quite a bit of difference between Google and Bing, and it's definitely Google that you need to concentrate on for search. So I'll go into Google. In fact, I'll go into the keywords that people have found, which is the same thing. And what you can do is you can then scroll down and see pretty much every single keyword that people typed in and how many of those resulted into a visit to your site. So what that's handy for is if you start optimizing your site, to go back to the red shoes example, you start optimizing your site if you're just selling red shoes. You've got red heels, red trainers, red whatever, and then you suddenly find that a word that you haven't been optimizing for is giving you a load of traffic, or giving you some traffic, and you find out that you're in position number 8 on the first page. You could do some work to elevate that if it's giving you good traffic and conversions. Other thing, you can link your Google AdWords account to Google Analytics, which means you can then track everything inside Google Analytics and from where you spent the money on the pay-per-click advertising. Obviously, if you're spending a couple of dollars per click, getting 50 visitors a day, it's $100 a day, it's $3,000 a month. You probably want to track where your money's going. And you can also have a quick look at the content that people are viewing. So in this particular case, a lot of people land on the home page more than anything else, and then search for jobs. But you might find that on your red shoes site, that red tennis shoes are the page that people go to loads, and then they go somewhere else. So you can find out a lot of information about your site that way, and what people are viewing. And most importantly, when you do decide on your conversions, you can set up goals on analytics. So you can say, my goal is, this is the funnel. People land on my home page, they go to the subscription page, they go to the thank you page. And what Google will do is it will show you the amounts and the percentages of your funnels. And you can set up as many of those as you like. Especially important if you're doing an e-commerce store, because normally what you have is a number of pages to go through before you reach the end of checkout. Lots of people abandon their shopping carts on e-commerce. And what you need to do is find out the pages that they are abandoning your cart from. Okay, so that's Google Analytics.
Why do people abandon their cart? Is there a reason?
Who knows? It could be that they couldn't find something they wanted to do. They got distracted at work. There could be hundreds of reasons, but what you want to make sure is it's not your technology. the last thing you can do with Google Analytics, to save logging into it, you can tell it to email you all the different types of reports that you want every week or every month, so you don't actually have to go in every time. Okay then, so we've looked at finding your audience, understanding how you're going to try and target them, understanding how you're going to measure them. So now I'm going to move on to Google itself. Who uses Google in here? Okay, who uses Bing? 1, 2, okay. And who uses Yahoo? Okay, so a couple, that's probably about right. So why do you think that most people use Google as opposed to one of the other two search engines?
You can sort of type in a basic word and you get more variety. You don't have to be excessive with what you write in there.
Okay. Anyone else got a different reason? Yeah.
You can actually be, on the flip side, you can be like direct at it as well. You can ask it a question like, what is development, you know, and it'll actually answer the questions for you as well.
Yep. Yeah, but Yahoo and Microsoft were out first.
But it's like,
Google is used a lot more for everyone, so it's well known to share.
It is, but what I'm saying to you is Yahoo launched a long time before Google was ever born, and so did Microsoft. It wasn't Bing at the time, but it is now.
Google's more updated.
Okay, whoever makes it onto the second page of the search engine results when they're on Google? Really?
I use 2 search engines because they give you both
Yeah.
give you different results.
They do.
So depending what you're looking for, I'll start with Bing and then I'll go to Google. Just depending what I'm looking for in the info.
Okay. Why do you think Google became so popular then? Does anybody know the answer to that? Why Google was much more popular?
I think it was publicity.
yeah.
Well, sorry.
I was trying to like what Macca's is to Hungry Jack's. Like Hungry Jack's was around in Australia, like, you know, and then Macca's came in, but because it's a worldwide name, it's just got a bigger name, you know, worldwide.
Okay. Actually, when Yahoo started, you used to be able to pay to get closer to the top of the search engines, to the search engine results pages. So they didn't do like the pay-per-click advertising that you used to, and neither did Google when it first started. And the biggest thing for Google is that when somebody types something in, they want to return the most relevant search results that they possibly can. Okay? So their whole focus is relevance. The problem comes when you type in home loan and you type in I want a mortgage. Yeah, they're both the same thing, but obviously they're different keywords. So Google also has some problems, things like fix a blocked drain. Do I want written instructions on how to fix it? A video showing me what to do? A plumber that's on call? So they don't know necessarily which search results to actually send to you. But it is all about relevance. So with that in mind, let me show you and talk through a search results page. It just so happens I have one prepared, okay, on the home loan side of things. Work this time. Okay, so I type in home loan. Everybody knows that this is the pay-per-click advertising. Yeah? Who clicks on there? No, do you? Is that what you okay. What about the right-hand side, the pay-per-click ads there? Who clicks there?
No.
Never?
No, I do. There's something there that catches my eye. I'll
Right.
go straight to that side.
Okay. Who clicks on this one? Number 1. Everyone? Right, okay. And then if you don't, on my computer I've got a heat map, but actually people just look, it's following their eye tracking technology, they look like this. So they read a lot of the first one, a little bit of the second one, then they just keep going down until they find it. And very few people click on that. It's actually about 12% of people click on pay-per-click ads. That 12% of people accounts for 99.99% of Google's revenue. And last quarter they made $10 billion. That's where they make all that, yeah?
When it comes to sites like that, and you click on them, you'll go to ring the company that you're trying to get through to, and the company is non-existent.
They pay up front. They either pay up. You can either pay up front, or they'll.
Drives me crazy.
When you're a new advertiser,
Like a plumber or something like that, you're going through and you've got 3 or 4 of them. You're out of business.
well, they're just stupid spending money where they can't
That's
receive a
probably why
phone
they're
call.
out of business.
Probably is. Okay, so then you've got what are termed the natural or the normal or organic search results. Okay, I'm going to just change this slightly, and I'm going to type in home loan Beamley, because that's where we are. And what you'll notice is that there's a map appeared at the top right hand side of the search results page. And if I scroll down, I get the first couple of normal results. Obviously all the advertisers are still there, and they're different from the ones on the last page. And then I get a series of locations that correspond to the map. Everybody seen that before? Okay. So what Google's doing here is it's recognizing that you are doing a local search, and you probably want local results. So what it does is it takes the places, and it's called Google Places, the places results for this area, and it puts them into the search engine results page. I'm going to do quite a lot on Google Places, because it's probably if you're thinking of setting up a local business or a business serving a local community, it's probably the most important thing you can do, because you can rank for extremely competitive keyword terms very easily. Okay? So, just to put that so you need to give Google what they want in order to get the results that you want. And just to, I know we did a quick counter in, but Google owns 66% of the search market, and Bing and Yahoo together own just over 29%. So Google's definitely the one to concentrate on. Google made over 500 changes to its search algorithm last year. Okay, what that means is how they measure and rank web pages. They made 500 changes to that calculation. And it actually assesses over 250 factors within its search algorithm in order to decide who comes first. Think you can keep up and run your business? No, you can.
I know I can already run a business.
You what, sorry?
I can already run a business. I know I can keep up with it.
You can keep up with 500 saved changes to search algorithm.
Oh no, not on the internet, but I can keep up with running a business.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Sorry, I think I meant. Do you think you can keep up with Google and run your business? Probably not. So, before I go on to traffic, when you're doing your websites and your properties, what Google's looking for is fresh, unique, authority, relevant content. Okay, so new content that you've written, that you put online, that is well researched and well written. And as long as you keep it, and if you've got some traffic coming at it, you will start to rank higher, because they'll make sure they change their search algorithm to reward those sites. Okay, so how do you get traffic to your site? You can buy traffic on the pay-per-click programs, or you can use banner advertising on other people's sites. You can get traffic from ranking for certain keywords, search engine optimization. You can get traffic via social media. You get traffic from your videos on YouTube, and probably seen on some searches that videos will actually rank on the first page of Google in the everything section. And you get traffic from images. And you can get traffic from other websites linking to you appropriately. So a well-written article on another website with a link to your site can produce quite a lot of traffic. And on the Global Sports Jobs example, they're getting about 3,500 visitors a month from a cricket site. So, pay-per-click. Why do we use pay-per-click? It's quick. You only pay for a click, not to show your advert. You can set a budget, which is normally daily, and it can be used to test the theory. If you've got a good idea on your website or what you want people to do when they get there, you can spend some money and drive traffic quickly at it and test it, and it's better to do that than spend 6 months optimising your page for search engine optimisation only to find out that it doesn't work. Disadvantages, it's very expensive to learn. You can burn through a lot of money if you don't set it up right. And if you pause it or reach your budget, your traffic stops. Okay, so I'll give you a quick example